What are the most vital questions we can ask to make a real impact in the fight against HIV and AIDS? The UNC CFAR, or Center for AIDS Research, is committed to asking tough questions, then backing them up with the hard work necessary to find answers to the most difficult problems in the battle against AIDS. Much of the collaboration among UNC CFAR researchers literally has changed the way we respond to HIV and AIDS, not just in North Carolina, but globally. Joining researchers in cores, or offices of research, the UNC CFAR works to transform scientific information into real improvements in people's lives. The UNC CFAR asks, what do we need to understand to stand up to HIV and AIDS now? How do we prevent transmission of HIV in ways that really work? How do we detect HIV and AIDS in our bodies? And how do we better treat it once it's there? How do we cure AIDS?
What the CFAR does is it says, well, let's take all these isolated silos of people and bring them together and try to realize some synergy between these efforts.
I think that we've tried to act as kind of catalytic thought leaders, about what's possible, both with acute infection and curing AIDS. And the work we do, we hope it changes the face of HIV, either in terms of treatment or prevention. We have a chance to see what the problems are in the southeastern United States, shed a light on those problems. And in addition, we were able to bring together other triangle organizations that would be virtually impossible without the CFAR, very unlikely without the CFAR. UNC is very focused on Central America, especially Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Honduras, on Asia, especially China and India, and on Africa, especially Malawi, Cameroon, South Africa, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We also have activities in Russia that are growing pretty fast. You marry the university at all its levels and all the faculty with the HIV problem in the countries we work in, and that the core serves as a fulcrum to amplify all that.
So by definition, our goal is not to remain static, that we always look for new projects, new goals. How can we incorporate more people, identify more investigators?
It is seen as integral to what the scientists are doing in their laboratories, that we can enhance their ability to take science back to the people and also bring ideas from the people to enrich their science. And that linkage, it's magical, and it doesn't happen very many places. So I'm really proud to be part of that happening here. And I'm proud of the CFAR for making that occur.
Let's find out directly from the patient, what is right for them and what isn't right for them, and how can we make care better through research.
Since its founding in 1998, the UNC Center for AIDS Research has exemplified the purpose of creating a center for AIDS research in the first place. Unique, powerful, and the sum of many parts, the CFAR organization links the best people, work, and ideas together. With collaboration as its founding principle, the UNC CFAR exists to provide strong leadership that funds sound research, united to confront the most critical HIV/AIDS challenges millions of people face every day. Situated in the southeastern United States, UNC CFAR is a truly one-of-a-kind institution, pairing both Family Health International and Research Triangle Institute with the flagship medical school of the University of North Carolina. More than 120 active researchers based at UNC, FHI, and RTI create innovative projects which not only serve the state of North Carolina directly, but also transcend national boundaries, connecting people across the globe in a common purpose, to make a difference in stopping AIDS.
But we're nothing more than the aggregation of these faculty and our collaborators, and we are not more than our opportunity to work on local problems and big global HIV problems.
This is a rapidly evolving epidemic, and so it really requires that type of structure and strategies that allow us to address it in a very fluid and urgent manner.
We also work closely with our own cores on campus, virology core, the clinical core, the immunology core, even the behavioral core. So we have good multidisciplinary collaborations on campus, as well as assisting other CFAR investigators domestically and other investigators internationally.
It's that kind of collaboration across corps in the CFAR that I really think is a real strength of our group in total.
We've also begun to collaborate with the Duke CFAR's Social and Behavioral Corps. So that's resulted in, I think, a very fruitful and efficient collaboration because we're not duplicating efforts.
We all work together as a team, and it provides such a good foundation for HIV research regardless of the field of the discipline.
Once you are in this kind of a collaborative setting with the range of investigators that we have, that we bring together, it makes it so much easier to launch projects and to make linkages.
The UNC CFAR joins top researchers, students, and people from disparate disciplines into working groups.
We can quickly form a group of people who are interested in this area and who are on the cutting edge of studying this area, and allow them to then use their own creativity to figure out the best way to address this.
Research, education, and service. The UNC CFAR is committed to access for patients and community members. It is dedicated to active partnerships with health, education, and service organizations, fighting AIDS on local and global levels.
People frequently ask, well, what about real life? You know, here's this medicine, it works great in this trial, what about real life? And the cohort is as close to real life as we're going to get. It's our patients in the clinic coming to their appointments, and we gather that data together to try to see how some of the things that have been tested in clinical trials actually turn out in the cohort.
There was an enormous opportunity for CFAR to both be relevant to the needs of the community and to hear those needs and integrate that into our research agenda.
But it's really fun to come in and see the variety of projects and know that we are making a difference in virtually every part of HIV. There's very little of HIV that we have not touched through our developmental awardees at some point in the last 11 years.
So I feel like the Code Office has actually been driven by community voices, responsive to community input, and has changed the way in which the whole CFAR operates. This is not separate from research. It's just going to open new avenues about how do you communicate public health messages and science back to the community and people.
The other thing that I think is also kind of remarkable is that our patients frequently participate in trials where they don't actually have any benefit. And they say, we want to participate because we want to help make a difference.
Yes.
And you say, well, you're probably not interested because, you know, you don't really get a lot out of this. You're going to give blood, but it might help someone else. And people say, oh, okay, well, I really want to give back. So it really is this nice kind of interaction from the patients to the scientists, and from the scientists to the patient.
The problems that many people in the CFAR work on come straight from the state and the need of the states, and the results feed right back into the policy decisions that are made by the state leaders.
The UNC CFAR and UNC holds itself responsible for the state in a kind of a unique way. As I indicated, it's not just the couple of thousand patients we take care of here. We also have a yearly symposium that about 400 to 500 people from around the state attend as an update on HIV, which is really the main update in this area.
Seeing these trials come to fruition and getting results published and actually changing national policy in these countries, new ways that they're going to start giving HIV drugs.
Being part of the CFAR and being part of the International Corps has really put me in touch with work that I hope, at least to a small extent, I'm facilitating that actually does make a difference in the health of people who either are living with HIV or at risk for HIV. So that's quite an honor, actually, for me as a social scientist.
In Malawi, the prevalence in our clinics, so the percentage of mothers that are HIV infected has dropped from 23% down to close to 10%. So, and it's continuing to drop. So it's really measurable gains that we've had in terms of both behavior change, medications, and we're ending up saving the U.S. taxpayer millions of dollars.
At the UNC CFAR, we know through first-hand knowledge that collaboration in research often produces the most integrated, groundbreaking outcomes. UNC CFAR's global projects continue to be effective because of a willingness to be bold and innovative.
All the kind of world community wants our sites to participate as a collaborator or as a leader in different programs.
There are several programs that our core facilitates that are of interest to North Carolina State. What we do in terms of helping the work of the state is impacts all kinds of public health needs.
We are the only CFAR core of its kind, so we work with CFAR investigators across the country who need analytical chemistry or clinical pharmacology assistance. We're very interested in prevention and helping to lead that effort as a core, but we're also supporting other investigators on campus who are very interested in curing HIV, removing HIV from the body using drugs, and so we're very excited about supporting them in their efforts. Clinical pharmacology is important because if you don't understand how a drug functions in the body, you don't understand how a drug functions at all. One of the most exciting trials that we're helping with is CAPRISA-004. CAPRISA-004 is a study of an antiretroviral, tenofovir, formulated into a gel to protect women against HIV infection. And if effective, it will be the first intervention that will be shown to be effective in preventing sexual transmission of HIV. And so that's really exciting.
What do people get infected with first? And so that's what we need to protect against. The idea of it is to try to understand enough about immunology and the virus to make an HIV vaccine. We know how to prevent transmission at birth. How do we prevent transmission before birth and after birth? And so those are big ones. And do we treat the mom? Do we treat the baby? Do we treat them both? What interventions are really going to keep the baby safe?
People talk about parachute research. That idea is you see an opportunity, you go in, you take what you need, and you leave. That's really not at all been our strategy. We've been in Malawi for 20 years and China for 30 years. So we have these very, very old and stable relationships that we're proud of. Those sites are critical to vaccine development, to new treatments, to global prevention activities.
The UNC Center for AIDS Research is also distinctively successful in its model of linking modest resources with exceptional people and rigorous science. This achieves a tremendous return on investment. UNC CFAR finds and trains young scientists and recruits distinguished partners to press forward into the future, supporting projects which time after time grow into far larger success stories than could ever have been imagined.
But the goal of the CFAR, and I think of any professor worth their salt, is that not only should they be proud of their own research and cutting edge, but are they training the next generation? We are aggressive at identifying bright, young people who haven't had grants before, and we've had a phenomenal success. So we've given out 132 awards. The bulk, vast majority, are to young women and minority investigators. You know, when you get 132 people who've written all these new grants with new research ideas and generated over $75 million of new research money, I don't think you can ask for more of an impact than that.
From our core, it impacts the fight against HIV everywhere.
I can actually talk a personal story about mentorship. So Dr. Iran has very successfully mentored me as my advisor and helped me get a doctoral degree in epidemiology.
We do a lot of training, especially internationally.
It's been really very gratifying and fun to watch these young people blossom and become your colleagues. So, and then they become the mentors. So that's very nice to see.
For every person that we can keep on the faculty working on these problems for a lifetime, it really gives us a chance to make contributions.
Being that we're a new Corps, I've been very pleased, and I think it's a highlight with how the Corps has grown and sort of developed a niche, if you will. You know, we've doubled the number of staff that we have, and our operating budget is nearly quadrupled over these first 4 years.
The Code Office has been active for about 3 years now, a little under 3 years, and the success that we have had in those 3 years is immense. The partners that we've built, the people that we've reached, the information that we've disseminated is actually, I think, very central to the work being done at the CFAR. And the CFAR as a whole, I mean, the research that is coming out of UNC, RTI, and FHI is groundbreaking. We have some amazing strides are being made at these three institutions towards, you know, the race for the cure, as they say.
We've educated thousands of Carolina students about HIV and AIDS. And when I go to an international AIDS meeting, like the one in Mexico or the one in Thailand, and I bump into former students from the AIDS course in the hallways of those meetings who say their careers are now doing HIV-related research or service, it makes me realize that the impact is enormous. There's a network of CFARs, and they get our newsletter as well. And so you hear from people in the network about, oh, we're doing something like this at our school, or wow, you're really doing that at Carolina. We were never able to make that happen.
Yeah, can you help us? Can you show us how you did it?
There's a transfer that's starting to happen between the CFARs.
What the UNC Center for AIDS Research does now happens with the power of synergy. What the UNC Center for AIDS Research will do in the years ahead will happen with the power of vision. With investment in this vision, nearly anything is possible.
You have this foundation of the collaborations, which the CFAR makes possible. And then things just happen more quickly, and you are able to bring people together, I think, in ways that I never could have imagined.
I'm most proud of the sustainability that has been demonstrated by CFAR. We start programs and then we stay with them. I'm also proud of what the National Institute of Health has undertaken and what our partner universities are undertaking. We're not standing alone.
The whole idea of national boundaries in HIV research is a very flawed concept. There can be domestic work that's very, very applicable in other countries, and I think there's a lot of lessons learned from our international research that we bring home here.
You might want to know about the kinds of messages that we've heard from our community partners. The epidemic is here in North Carolina. And to learn lessons from both sides, from the global for the local and the local for the global. So for instance, we've been hearing a lot about how hard it is to live with HIV and HIV-related stigma and discrimination in rural, small-town North Carolina. And what they're saying is that message is very similar to the message that you might be hearing in other nations where people are afraid to go get tested or are afraid to have a conversation with others about their HIV. We all share a common need to deal with a pandemic that we're part of and the world is part of.
For every person we put into treatment, 5 new people get infected. So if you have those numbers, this is a losing game unless we cure this infection.
Our immune system knows how to deal with many, many infectious diseases, and so we just have to put it in a position where it can deal with this one also, and it'll know what to do if we can get it there.
We want to see the world alleviated of the pain and suffering associated with infectious disease generally and HIV in specific.
At the University of North Carolina Center for AIDS Research, we succeed because we collaborate. In innovation, we set precedent. With synergy and vision, we see huge returns on investment. And why do this work? Why help it continue? At the UNC Center for AIDS Research, it's not just about research. It's about real-life application, a real-life response to AIDS. This work is not about knowledge shared among scientists alone. It's about a fierce commitment to creating and translating knowledge that advances the fight against HIV and AIDS and changes people's lives forever.